Global War 36 enthusiast here with a video about understanding the strategic implications of naval supply. Version 4.3 has adopted naval supply rules where you start at home country, and if you're tracing from a major naval facility, you have a supply path has a range of 4, a minor naval facility range of 2. You don't count the first sea zone that you start in, and then you have to trace out to your surface naval units. You don't have to trace to subs. You don't have to trace to battle cruisers that are on rating status, but you do have to trace to all other naval surface ships. You also have to trace to naval facilities if you want to get the movement bonus. So if you cut a fleet of naval units out of supply, that's huge because you drop the surface ships by 1 movement point for being out of supply, and then if they can't have their major naval facility in supply either, then that will actually drop them a second one that they were counting on because they don't get the +1 bonus movement. Naval supplies checked at the start of the movement that you're going to do. So if you're going to be moving in the combat movement phase, you check right then. At the when you want to move those units, you have to check. And if you're moving in the non-combat movement, similarly, you have to check for the naval units. So how does this impact a game? Well, here in 43rd Wessex, Panzer J and Hambone are the Axis. Panzer J is putting on a show in Russia. He scored Lebensraum, which now gives you a permanent point, and Hambone's putting on a show here in the Pacific. He's spread all the way down here. He's captured all of Anzac except for Sydney. He's pushed up here into Burma. He's got the coast of China. America has been responding with its major fleet here in Sea Zone P66. They've built a major port in Samoa. Their fleet consists of a couple fleet carriers, a couple battleships, 3 heavy cruisers, etc. So Hambone has a lot of subs, and he could have tried to cut the supply path down to these ships here with submarines. But it's a bit vulnerable because the American player, Sergeant Shellhole, could send these destroyers out on escort duty, and then when Sergeant Shellhole tries to trace the supply path, this sub could choose to interdict, but if there were, say, 2 destroyers on escort duty, what would happen is the sub rolls at its attack value, there's no modifiers, and on a 1, 2, or 3, it would cut that supply path and cut the Navy out of supply. But then the 2 destroyers would get to kill that sub. Then in the non-combat movement phase, Sergeant Shellhole could trace supply because if the sub was killed, and he could move those units in the non-combat movement. So instead, Hambone made a brilliant play just now. He had a medium bomber here and also had a heavy fleet carrier. I think it was in P15. He flew the medium bomber out and strategic bombed Pearl Harbor, did 4 points of damage there, and then he landed his medium bomber on a heavy fleet carrier. Just a brilliant move all around. Now he's set these units up to be sacrificed, basically, but there is no supply path to get down here to Samoa by doing this because he can't trace supply from a damaged naval facility. It needs to be undamaged and actually has to be in supply as well. So he has completely cut this fleet out of supply, and that this major port isn't in supply, so it can't provide the movement bonus. So basically, this fleet has 2 less movement than Sergeant Shellhole was thinking it was going to have. The battleships can only move 1. The transports there, if they left port, they could only move 1. So really brilliant move by Hambone. Let's just talk about how this how the naval supply rules are going to affect the Pacific in Global War 36. First, it's going to make the ocean feel bigger, because when you can only move a battleship one space, it's going to make the oceans feel very, very big, you know? Second, normally what you do is you think about, okay, where can I attack and where can I be attacked? And also another thing in the Pacific that you're always thinking about is how many capital ships are there? For Japan, how many capital ships for the U.S., so that you're thinking about Kido Butai and Big Blue. But now you have another big consideration, and that's, do I have a supply path to my major naval forces? You might want to start thinking about, do I have two supply paths in case one of them gets cut? There's a lot of impact that the naval supply rules are going to have on the game. It's going to increase the value of islands. If you're going to want to take all these little islands, because imagine if America had the Marshall Islands, maybe then they would have a way to go from Midway down to Marshall Islands, or you'd have to build a major port in Midway. But little islands are going to have a bigger impact. The subs are much more valuable. You can see this is our first public test or public game of 4.3, and Hambone has a tremendous number of subs. And because subs are going to be more valuable in 4.3, this is going to make seaplanes more valuable. The idea down here of surrounding Australia that Hambone has is really key, because Sydney only has a minor shipyard. It doesn't have a major naval facility. So by taking out New Zealand, Hambone has really had a tremendous impact here on the Allies' ability to trace supply. It's an exciting new change.